And in the aftermath of that disclosure, we have had to surrender to high electricity bills. And some of us, many of us in this country, don't pay until they see the red letters urgent on the envelope. And that is why I say to you, Mr. Speaker, that the future portent of this country is one of suffering. Unless we move on a new trajectory, unless this government rationalizes its relationship with light and power, all of us in this country may find that we reside at the mercy of bills that are too high. Was the government caught unaware in 2022? And if it were so caught, what is this government's present solution? I'm told that there are some new businesses that are still being attached on the grid. Is there a case of discrimination? Is the citizen of this country, are some of the citizens of this country suffering discrimination insofar as they're finding inaccess to that grid? How does the average Barbadian benefit from renewable energy in the present arrangement? I'm an amateur. I'm a layman insofar as engineering is concerned. But my layman's view tells me that if the grid embraces renewable energy, and by definition renewable energy which is cheaper, that all energy bills should be lower. But I'm a layman and I'm an amateur and I don't know the answer. But I invite this government, given its authority, to tell the public of Barbados whether it can guarantee to that public lower electricity bills. And in an estimates debate some time ago, I asked the then minister the same question. Can you guarantee lower bills to customers, to consumers? And he is not without much craft and intelligence. And he paused and he thought, and then he said, that is our intention. He did not say yes, he did not say no. He is too clever to commit himself. He said, that is our intention, but he's no longer Minister of Energy. He is in the skies, flying high, drinking champagne on private jets. So why worry about energy? The next question I ask, has any consideration been given to community solar farms? I suspect the government has thought of these things. What are the plans for storage? I think I heard something about storage in here yesterday, and it was to my great relief. And 9 is a difficult question, mired as we are in rate hearings. Where are Barbadians in relation to renewable energy generally? Where are we? Are we benefiting at all? Should we go ahead and install? Should we spend our hard-earned monies? Just 2 days ago, I heard of some persons who are installing the panels and feeding the energy into the fridge. It has become as chaotic as that. The Barbadian consumer is not without some creativity. But we don't need that chaotic, creative effort. When a government is well positioned in its relationship with light and power to answer these questions to the benefit of the consumer. And the other question I ask, why did government amend the Utilities Regulation Act to give the minister greater power in relation to applications that come to the Fair Trading Commission? The public is now aware that there are some companies, utility companies, that are regulated by the Fair Trading Commission and they cannot raise prices indiscriminately. If they want an increase, they must go to that Fair Trading Commission. I want to charge this government. I'm not going to be subtle with my language now. I am charging this government for giving ministerial power that favors utility companies. That is what I'm saying, and I'm not saying it as a bald political statement. I am saying it based on the evidence. Based on the evidence contained in the amendment which came to this Parliament last December, when I was again courageous enough to challenge the government. Y'all surprised I left? I hear y'all complaining, oh, he ain't tell me nothing. Ralphie gone and they say a word. Y'all weren't listening to my speeches? Honorable member for St. Thomas, she wasn't listening to my speeches. I didn't used to be here. So I was talking through the window. Controller, sir. But I miss you, honorable member for St. Thomas. Beg your pardon? The Utilities Regulation Act used to control ministerial intervention. It used to be the law that if the minister thought that the utility, the market was effectively competitive, in other words, classic case of the telephone service providers. If you have 2 or 3 companies, they're competing against each other, we all benefit as consumers. One brings down his price, the other brings down his price. That is what competition does. So in that event, a minister may say, well, the market is already competitive. No need to go to the Fair Trading Commission and humbug the people. But this government, in its wisdom, came to the people of Barbados through this Parliament last year and amended that legislation. Having done it previously in 2019, they did it again. And say that the minister has discretion to stop an application to the Fair Trading Commission if he believes that it is, and I quote, in the public interest. So he is given the power, Your Honor, to determine what is public interest. I say that is a device to deprive the consumers of this country, a legislative device to deprive the consumers of this country of fair access to the Fair Trading Commission in controlling pricing in the utilities market. That is my view. And it is not a view that is held arbitrarily. I base that view on the evidence. Your Honor, those are my dissertations on energy. I want to come to agriculture. And I want to accuse the government of misleading the people of this country as to the state of agriculture. I want to do that, not because I am naturally predisposed to attacking the government, but because what I'm going to say is the truth. Like the sugar sector, the non-sugar sector continues to struggle under the weight of an uncaring government. This year, there's a prediction that drought conditions may affect the sector. In the past, farmers were provided with incentives and assistance to offset the impact of the water shortage. Support with tanks, guttering, pumps were provided to increase the water harvesting capacity. What has this government done lately for the farmer? I'm trying to remember the name of the singers. What have you done for me lately? The farmer says to the government, what have you done for me lately? I get in a road paved in Thornberry Hill with the help of the Honorable Prime Minister. Farmers have been expressing surprise at the claim that there were increases in production of non-sugar crops and produce. They are saying that there have been shortages of chickens and eggs, of sweet potatoes and yams. In fact, across the vegetable and farming sectors, farmers have been struggling. The farmers are asking, where is the minister? I am no agriculturalist. I don't pretend to be omniscient. When I want to know something, I go a place where I can learn. And I was at AgriFest recently. Didn't see the honorable member for St. Philip South there, but I'm going to tell him what we learned having attended. People who lost, beg your pardon? You back on this president thing? Ask him for a form. Ask him for a form. I will rescue you from your plight. Sugar farmers, I learned this, when they incurred a loss, they would recoup that loss by the planting of onions. Are you tired, sir?
I sit here 6 or 7 hours, my friend. I remember, I'm accustomed to this.
You're accustomed to this.
Very much so.
So that onions were a major cash crop. I asked this government through you, sir, what's the position with onions? We've heard of the much vaunted FEED, and it is such a beautiful acronym, FEED, FWD, FEED program. But the sad news is that it has not met its objectives, since less than 25% of land-owning farmers are in production. That is at the heart of the crisis in agriculture in this country. So when we hear these beautiful figures, these impressive figures, the reality is that the landowners, the majority of landowners are not participating in agriculture. What say you, government? What say you, minister? What is your plan? Where is your energy? You promised to repair the pump at Montpoyer in St. Lucie. It's been done? Beg your pardon? Farmers are predicting, Your Honor, that this year will be the worst onion crop ever. And the poor Prime Minister back to spending foreign exchange. Across all abattoirs, the numbers are down, Your Honor, in the hearing of the Prime Minister. Talk to your Minister of Agriculture and ask him what is the truth. And what is the true state of agriculture in this country? What is the situation with cotton? Where this minister boasted that he intends to put 2,000 acres of land into cotton. The people of this country will close their ears so that they won't hear the embarrassment that this minister will suffer. When I say to you, Your Honor, that from a boast of 2,000 acres, 4 acres. 4 acres, government. 4 acres, government, are under cotton cultivation. The Honorable Member for St. Lucie stares in utter disbelief. It is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I have no business down there. I have no business down there. But if I'm called upon, what are your plans? What are the minister's plans to get us to this 2,000 acres? I'm finished talking to him. I'm addressing you, sir. What are that minister's plans? That honorable member. What are his plans to move from 4 to 2,000? Keep your eyes on the Prime Minister. She's upset. A word to the wise. She's upset with you. She's embarrassed. Now, the member for Christchurch East, the honorable member for Christchurch East, he is so fascinated on this black belly thing. He finds this such a fascinating subject that whenever the mention of the Black Belly Guyana project is mentioned, it tickles him. I don't know if it tickles his belly, but he finds it such a fascinating subject that this government took up over 500 of the poor people's sheep and send them in the water down there for the hooves to rot. And poor Mr. McLean has now to go down there and find out how many have died. It's a serious matter. Through you, sir, to the honorable member for Christchurch East, it's a serious matter. Those sheep were living well in Barbados. They were living well. I know it fascinates you. I know it tickles your belly about those black belly sheep. And it makes you smile. You're laughing at me? All right. All right. How much the government paid the owners of those sheep for each one? Through you, sir. They took up the people's sheep. Some were snatched in the night. And condemned the poor sheep to waterlogged conditions. And rather than Mr. McLean make a telephone call to Guyana, the Ministry of Agriculture is taking up money to send him down there on an expensive flight to count dead sheep. What was it all about, though? And he said in here, the estimates, the minister said he's sending down 240 more. What is this all about? What is this sheep project about? We don't have the land space. And then the minister says in here during the estimates that the idea is to slaughter the sheep down there and bring back the meat here. Your Honor, do you eat mutton? You want mutton from Guyana, sir? It will add to the cost, my friends. To slaughter a black belly sheep in Guyana and bring it back to Barbados instead of slaughtering it at one of the abattoirs here will add to the cost. What is this project about? Is it a real project? Or is it a mask for something else? Is it a show? Is it a show of cooperation between the new governments of Barbados and the new government of Guyana? Is it symbolic? Is it window dressing? I just see sheepish smiles. I just see sheepish smiles. What is it about? What I can tell you is that previously the semen of black belly sheep used to be sold as a very lucrative industry. And perhaps when the next reshuffle comes, the honorable member for Christchurch East will become the Minister of Agriculture. And he will be familiar with these old practices that money used to be made without exporting the people's sheep, without snatching the people's sheep in the middle of the night to take them on a flight to Guyana. And I say that when sheep are exported, the gene pool diminishes. But with the semen, you can control and maintain your industry. Through you, sir, to the honorable member for Christchurch East, I regret to say that I have left the subject of sheep. And to say that the farmers in the land lease project are suffering and they cannot get water support. This caring government what has happened to the $2 million promised to the Barbados Agricultural Society? Is it nothing to this government? They're not anybody. This money allows farmers to draw from a revolving fund easing cash flow problems and is repaid through marketing of pigs and other produce. The people have a system. Please, government, help the people. They got to keep the pigs in Haymans to get help. The local pork industry is in trouble and needs help. We in Barbados are now importing pork from Suriname. Y'all didn't know this, did you, Honorable Mr. Speaker? They didn't know this. We are now importing pork from Suriname. That is the consequence of our failings in agriculture. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the member for St. Philip South, told the people of this country that pig production has increased. The opposite is true. Pig production is down. Used to be 35,000 a year, it's down to 30,000 a year. Those are statistics that are not difficult.
I remember. Continue.
I think he wants me to drink some water. And you can be assured this is water, sir. I have never wrestled with him. But he's angry. And I apologize for having hurt his feelings on the issue of pigs. But I will say, through you, sir, to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, that the neglect to non-sugar agriculture does not end there. The veterinary lab is capable of doing the much needed testing. And I ask the question, when will the government ensure that the lab gets equipment to ensure quality products are being sold? It is difficult to meet export standards using the lab in its present condition. Please ask your beloved Prime Minister to give some more financial assistance, fire 2 consultants from the Prime Minister's office and meet that expense. The minister has been promising, but I don't believe there's any legislation forthcoming in relation to phytosanitary standards. Is it? You can laugh me out of court if you wish, if I'm wrong. I'm not omniscient. But let the laughter cease when I tell you about water rates through you, sir. That the farmers need help with water rates. Many a young farmer is suffering because water is too expensive. I can't find any sophisticated language to say, do something for the farmers of this country. The infamous, I beg your pardon, price compact that was to reduce the cost of living was a short-term and short-sighted initiative. Certainly in relation to chicken production. By forcing a lower price regime on the small producers, it forced many of them to fall out of the market, leaving only a few growers. Now permission has been given to one producer to build 2 new pens, making the survival of the small chicken growers almost impossible. These things happen. Monopolies emerge, and when monopolies emerge, you know who suffers. You know who's marginalized. You know who's destroyed. You know who's dispossessed. You know who falls off the edge. Small farmers. Could you imagine we're living in a country with a mono industry, largely speaking, tourism. And we are not supporting our farmers adequately. We are not supporting our farmers. Output in non-sugar agriculture is down in excess of 30%. Yes, through you, sir, Minister. Yes. And you will have a chance to reject that. I am not omniscient, but that is a charge I make in here today. Then there's the question of chicken wings. I'm not going to bore the country on this matter much longer. But opening up protected markets is killing the pork and chicken industry, the local pork and chicken industry. As large interests outside Barbados are now dominating and controlling food distribution in Barbados. Food security is national security. And since local production is under threat, food security and national security are also under threat. And when I said earlier that this country is in trouble, it is not poetic, it is realistic. Protect the farmers of this country. Agriculture is not healthy. Government continues to ignore agriculture. And again, and for the last time, I am asking for incentives to be given to farmers in this country. I come to tourism. I said earlier in this speech about government's plan to populate the Carlisle Bay stretch, and we were told from Needham's down to the harbor. This country wants a report card. This country wants a report card. 6 years later, we want a report card. Where are the hotels? Where's the industry? I can tell you where's the industry, and I can tell you what is the successful portion of that industry. Savvy on the Bay. Through you, sir, Honorable Prime Minister. Savvy on the Bay is one of the success stories of that Bay Street stretch. And I say to this government, through you, sir, that Savvy on the Bay at this very minute while I'm on my feet speaking in this parliament, that Savvy on the beach is in peril. Their existence is perilous.